Hello from the BBC, I'm Rich Preston with Global View, a snapshot of how the world's media covered prominent American stories. This week, the American-born athletes representing China in the Winter Olympics. It's been a talking point in several countries. We'll hear reaction from China and America, and even reaction to the American reaction.
谷爱凌不仅能说一口流利的普通话。
That's China's state-run CCTV 13, telling viewers that the gold medal-winning skier Eileen Gu speaks fluent Mandarin, loves to eat Beijing duck, and is well-versed in Chinese culture. She was born in San Francisco to an American father and a Chinese immigrant mother. She switched her affiliation from the US to China in 2019. Kerry Allen is with BBC Monitoring, which scans the media and social media around the world.
Well, it's actually been quite sensational. I mean, for the past week now, very much as in the lead up to the Olympics as well as during the Olympics, it's almost like she's been the only story. And you wouldn't know that she grew up in the US and originally had US citizenship, because Chinese media have just absolutely dominated coverage of her, talking about how she epitomises the spirit of what it is to be Chinese. Her win earlier in the week in the free ski, there's been huge media fanfare at this, and she really has become the golden girl of China in the Olympics. So much so that you've got newspapers like the Global Times saying that merchandise, figurines of her, even power banks that you use to charge, your phone, for example, with her signature on, they've been selling out within minutes. There's so much enthusiasm for her.
So that's Eileen Gu, but there's another American-born athlete competing for China who's not been lauded so much in the Chinese media.
There's a skater called Zhu Yi who similarly grew up in California, and she renounced her citizenship back in 2018. She was originally known as Beverly Zhu, and she became known as Zhu Yi, and also competed for China at this year's Olympics. But because she failed in her event, and when she was interviewed afterwards, struggled to speak Chinese. I mean, Eileen Gu, in comparison, she can speak fluent Mandarin. Zhu Yi really struggled with this. She just had huge criticism. People treated her like she was a traitor to her nation and very much emphasised her Americanness. So very, very different treatments of two athletes who, in all respects, are quite similar in terms of their backgrounds. But yeah, it really got people in China talking about identity and the idea that you have to really kind of get in touch with Chinese culture, Chinese language, and very much show that you're a winner in order to be Chinese. Whereas, yeah, if you're a loser and you can't speak very good Chinese whatsoever, they can basically say that, well, maybe she's been brainwashed by the West and the US.
Kerry Allen. While the Chinese media may not be playing up Eileen Gu's American roots, that angle has been taken up in America. Here's Tucker Carlson on Fox News.
But there should be collective revulsion as we watch this. Like, we shouldn't make it easy for people to betray their own country, should we?
That coverage from Fox News sparked this reaction in Ireland on a sports podcast called The Second Captains.
I do find it genuinely interesting, actually, how kind of crazy this sends the Americans. And suddenly this thing they're confronted with, hang on, this person's American, what?
Well, they're so used to this idea that people go to America because they want to become American. They want to become citizens. They want to, this whole American dream thing. It's like, why would you, if you grew up in America, move away from that to ever want to represent anywhere else in the world?
That's what some of the world's media had to say this week. I'm Rich Preston at the BBC.